Welcome everyone to my chess stream here on Friday. It is February 24th, 2017. We're going to be playing Fast Friday, just blitz today. So that's the idea. Just 5-3, no other time controls. Keep it simple. You don't have to think, just move. 5+3. If you'd like to challenge me, please challenge to only that time control. We're going to get started in just a minute. Welcome everyone to my stream. Got challenges from Constant Change. I had a challenge from a million miles away, but we lost him. I think he's back. No, he's not back yet. Alright. Yesterday was a rest day at the UAE Grand Prix. The wonderful world of FIDE. I've got challenges from Constant Change. Savadika played yesterday. He's got just enough games. I do ask that everyone have around 50 games or so played, so it's not a completely new account. I also have a YouTube channel, guys. Check it out. Video Chess Training on YouTube. I upload all the streams from here. If you want to replay one of the streams, see what happened, you can go there. See, usually they're saved for a couple of weeks on Twitch, but you can always check them out on YouTube. So let's get started with the game with Constant Change. He is pretty fast, so let's be careful with him. I'm going to play maybe c4. But he's been playing mostly this old Indian lately, and if I played d4, he was playing... When I played d4, he was playing this, what is it, the Clarendon Court with c5 and f5. But now, he's going back to his old ways, I think. Against the Sicilian, he likes to play... He actually likes to play the... I got him to play d6, so he's back in Old Indian. But he was playing reverse dragons before. That's a far cry from the Old Indian. In fact, it's basically the opposite. Open position versus closed position. Soroche, good morning. Rizink. What's up, guys? Well, someone asked me to play a standard opening. Well, I normally play standard openings. I'm not really a player who plays a lot of bizarre stuff. Maybe you saw our Wednesday stream where we play unusual openings. I don't know. Actually, here I have to be careful. I mean, e4 might be a decent move for black. So, queen c2 is probably stopping e4. That's probably not a bad idea. We have had this position with Constant Change before. He likes to put his queen on c7, and there's always some kind of weird static between these two queens. I mean, rook d1 is a normal move here. But I feel strange about the positioning of my queen when black has a queen on c7. But it's not essential. It's just one idea to play rook d1, as I said. It's more classical to play e4. The way that Constant Change plays this, it's like transposing to a King's Indian, basically, where he's sort of half a tempo down because his bishop's on f8 instead of on g7. Now b5 looks like a threat to me, so I'm going to stop that. If his knight could go to b4, I would be reluctant to do this. But he's trying to play straight up Philidor, but it's a King's Indian, not a Philidor. I think a5 deserves consideration there. My queen is a bit strangely placed again. Like whenever I play with the queen on c7, queen on c2, I don't really know how to handle it, to be honest, guys. Rook on d1 is tempting, but it might be better to play rook e1. I'm just going to play conservatively here. I mean, actually, the Philidor is a good opening if you just want to quickly play a lot of moves. It's easy to do that. Now you played a5. It's not necessary to play b6 if you want to play a5, I think. You can probably save yourself some trouble. But I think he has too many pawn moves now, it feels like. Absolutely using no time. Not a good strategy, in my opinion. The weird gambit line you played against me yesterday at 3 games in 365. Chess 365. At 3 games. The weird gambit. Las Hazior, what weird gambit I played yesterday? I played a weird gambit? And it was yesterday? Really? I don't recall like what weird gambit that was. Maybe you can remind me. Okay, so constant change, I don't know, man. I mean, I would think with constant change's strength and the speed at which he plays, he would be like 2,200 in bullet, but he's only 1,800. You saved me from something known as Terran 420. That sounds like something from Alien. One of the planets from the Alien series. Well, if I saved you from being abducted by aliens, then good for me. You played against that weird gambit line yesterday. I played against the weird gambit line yesterday. Oh, Las Hazior? I mean, I played against the weird gambit line yesterday, but the guy was sacking a pawn against me, but I didn't think it was you. I didn't know it was you, if it was you. But I didn't play a gambit. I mean, they tried to play a gambit against me, you know. So I wasn't sure what you're talking about. If it was something Wednesday, that's like way too far back from my memory to recall. Guys, I want to thank everyone who's donated via PayPal. We had some new donations this week from Thomas and Dragon. So thanks to you guys for supporting the channel, supporting my stream here. That's awesome. If you guys can just donate $5 a year to help support what I'm trying to do here, it's terrific help. Of course, larger donations are possible, but it's really just helpful if the smallest donations can support the stream. That's awesome. We're also available for lessons if anybody's interested in training. videochesstrainer@gmail.com. That's my email. I have some open vacancies. If people are really serious about lessons, let me know. So anyway, back to business here after this commercial information. H6, kind of weakening move, but I mean, you know, it seems like constant change is sort of mixing the old Indian with the King's Indian. It's okay, H6. More normal to play maybe like G6. I'm not really sure what H6 does. You know, I'm not going to go to G5 with any of my pieces here, so I think he's just desperately looking for a move that maintains the tension. I'm having a little trouble because of A4, a move I don't normally play on the queen side. Having a little trouble opening things up. I don't know what to do about it, actually. Okay, knight H4. This is typically a move that we play when we're trying to basically find a way to make progress when there's a lot of tension in this kind of structure. I have noticed in Philidor positions, like the chess engine, usually, if we have enough control of the center, we'll play knight H4. To sort of do that, try to induce black to weaken his king side. White can play F4. It's maybe a little bit risky. King H2 to protect G3. That sounds crazy, you know, but I'm gonna think about playing F4 at some point. I think it's too risky here, actually. I regret playing. I'm actually kind of regretting playing King H2, not knight H4, but King H2. I don't know how to make progress, guys. I'm going to go back and give up on this plan. I don't really like it. F4 looks too weakening. I'm going to chicken out. The king h2 is not a big liability. I don't like it opposite. Yeah, nice arrow. I don't like the king opposite that queen if I'm trying to play f4 or something. So we're in a kind of normal situation, but it's difficult for either side to break it open without giving up the tension favorably to the other side. This is just going to degenerate into some kind of blitz. Maybe I can penetrate along the d file, but there are certain problems. So finally he gives up. He gives up the tension here. All right, this is good for me. Knight takes. All right, guys. Classic theme. We're going to go for it. Years of playing the G3 King's Indian. What? Well, that's quite a move. What, did I just lose a piece or something? No, I have 2 pieces for a rook. Okay. Bishop takes c5. Two pieces for a rook. He's really too strong to be his rating. I mean, he's so tough. Seems like every day I'm like on the verge of losing to constant change. I didn't even see bishop takes e4. Knight g5 now. Well, doesn't give us too much choice. Black is better here. Just winning. Yesterday I was lost as well against constant change. There's no way this guy isn't master strength. It's a very bad situation here. Down 2 pieces for a rook. We're just lost here. This is just lost. He has a very strong pass to a pawn. But we're starting to get some counterplay. Now I don't know, it's kind of unclear. I'm probably lost in the final position here, but he agreed to a draw. I don't know, this looks totally winning for black. You can just play 94. This has to be winning for black. He kind of panicked in accepting a draw there. Okay. Sabatica. His endings. His endings, maybe his... Yeah, maybe. He's played a couple good endings against me, but... Yeah, there's some situations where he just kind of panics. I think it's more about like psychological panic than maybe his technique itself not being good. He seems to get nervous when he's in time pressure. Okay, Sabatica asked that I play a standard opening, so we'll try to keep it classical. Online Wiki says, I haven't played chess for a few days, just doing puzzles. Big news, I won my first game of rated chess. Congratulations, Scottie Pippen. Blue Crow is here. The problem with that whole game was the combination I uncorked with knight to b5. Unfortunately, was refuted by his stunning move bishop takes e4, which he saw instantly. Most people would be fazed by sacrificing a piece there, but he just took it in stride and like instantly sacked the piece back with 2 pieces for a rook. Okay, this is kind of an unusual order of moves for black. Knight f6, c3. I think that's the main move. I looked at knight g5 once here. a4 might be a move as well. And I've looked at bishop d5. I was unconvinced by that in a previous stream. In a previous stream. Very unusual order of moves. I mean, if you want to play the Archangel variation, Archangels variation, normally black would play like knight f6 first, and then b5 later. Typically in this line with b5, black plays bishop b3 and knight a5, the so-called Norwegian variation. Okay, bishop b7. This transposes to a line of the Archangels, which I had an old roommate who used to play this for black, I think. A guy was teaching chess, he was around 1700, 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. Yeah, he played this exact position, if I'm not confusing it. I think there was actually a New in Chess survey on this. It might be called the Riga variation, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember here. I guess I'm supposed to castle. If I castle knight a5, I think I do have to castle though. What if castles knight a5? That doesn't seem sensible. No, castles knight a5 I can take on e5. That's right. Okay, so castles with the idea of d4. It can transpose to a line that Elianov has played, I think, like d6, d4, and black turns it into a normal Lopez where he's played bishop b7 early. It's not an archangel yet. He hasn't... Well, no. Take care, because when you say it's not an archangel yet, that's not true. I mean, there are lines of the archangel with bishop b7. You know, this is actually another variation, Plucro. So I'm not sure that technically you're right. I mean, I think that technically just b5 makes it an archangel. I mean, I'm not sure that you have to play bishop c5. Bishop b7 is a different line. That's not as common, but that's a good question. What actually defines the archangel's variation? Because I think it might just be the move b5, not necessarily bishop c5 or bishop b7. As I'm talking about, this is a line here. Knight takes e4 is what. That doesn't seem right either, though. Yeah, knight takes e4. That seems to me that was the line. Knight takes e4, d4. Pawn takes pawn and rook e1, if I remember correctly, was the line I played with the old roommate. But bishop c5 goes back into, you know, well, that's like kind of... Actually, no. Bishop c5 is probably not great either. So there, I guess he has to play either d6, bishop e7... Yeah, he's like mixing two lines now with bishop c5 and bishop b7, and I don't think that black can afford to do that. One or the other, but not both. Aggressive bishop placements. Yeah, Plucro, but whose authority is that? You're pacing. Well, Wikipedia is the authority of chess, man. I mean, just anybody can put that on there. We can't go around quoting Wikipedia as like the ultimate authority of chess. And chess opening names are really, you know, actually open to interpretation. They're not cemented in stone. There's no copyrights on chess opening names. So it's more of a historical thing, you know. The Wikipedia. People become too dependent on Wikipedia. I wouldn't quote it in my doctorate thesis. So... yeah, I mean, that's definitely a variation of the archangels, no question, what you're talking about there. But the question is, technically, is the move b5 what makes it an archangel variation? You know, historically speaking, I'm just curious, you know. So now we're just winning a piece. The counter thrust variation from the Big White Book. What is the Big White Book? The Big White Book of chess openings. No, it would be interesting to find out from some kind of, what would you call someone, an opening file? Some kind of like world-renowned expert. You know, who's the, John Nunn or something, I don't know. You know, somebody who's like a world-renowned expert on chess openings. Who can we trust anyway when it comes to opening names? In many cases, many of these openings have more than one name. What is the Big White Book? Yeah, but it's interesting that the wording there, Plucro, it says the modern archangel defense. Bishop b7 is the other line. So here we're just winning. Want to kill that guy on b7. That's his best piece. I'm sure there's other ways to play. I could just take the pawn on e5. But I think this is stronger. I'm hitting everything. The knight, defending this, hitting the rook at a8. Pretty nasty situation. Okay, so ultimately what happened here? He played bishop b7. After that, he chooses his variation. But castles now, I think you have to play... I'm pretty sure knight takes e4 is the move. It's very dodgy though. After knight takes e4, like d4, I think it's called the Riga variation. E takes d4, rook e1, f5 is actually a move. It's probably dubious for black. I mean, but it's been played. Okay, also Wiki has the Archangel's defense was invented by theoreticians in the city of archangels, of course. Okay, so that's bishop b7. But I'm curious about this Riga variation. You know, if you look up somewhere something about the Riga variation. I mean, some people call the Latvian gambit. I think originally the Latvian gambit was called the Riga gambit. You know, but we're not. We shouldn't confuse. We shouldn't confuse the Latvian gambit with the archangels. Obviously, I'm just up a piece here, so nothing fancy. But I'm pretty sure about that Riga thing. A hybrid kind of crazy gambit in this line. I had a lot of interesting games with the 1700 roommate, though. He was a talented guy. He had the potential to be a lot stronger than 1700, but eventually quit. He was 1700 going on like 2200 probably, if he had continued. Tried to get him to play here on Lee chess, but he's too busy. Sabatica, no counterplay for you. Centralization. Strong knight outposts. Spinal Tap, what's up, man? Do you know anything about the Roy Lopez? Have you ever heard of the Riga variation? Probably not, right? You're into the Caro-Kann. I should have taken en passant on d5. But it's all good. Gribelnikov. Right, that's it. Okay. Okay, so the Riga's like without bishop b7. Knight takes e4 right away. d4, e takes d. Okay, that's because I was mixing it with this. I was mixing it with this line. Maybe you're right. Okay, I think you're right, Plucro. That's my bad. I was actually mixing this Archangel with the Riga, and they're two different things. He has defense to mate here. Can you guys see it? No, knight f3 check, only move. Knight f3 check. G takes f, rook g8 check. Alright, thank you for the game, guys. We have 12 challenges. It's Fast Friday. Hopefully we'll get a bunch of games in. So we got the Riga variation, just to clarify what we were talking about. Not possible in this, or I guess it is possible, right? b5, bishop b3, knight f6. Okay, so in this position, grabbing the pawn is the Riga variation. But after grabbing the pawn, white castles. Black plays like bishop b7, no? Knight takes e4, d4, e takes d. And then I can castle, I guess. Okay, knight takes e4, d4, e takes d, castles, threatening rook e1. Now you've clarified it for me. Thank you. Girl of Chess, haven't seen you for a while. 5-3. Let's go. So, sometimes I like to play the Alekhine's defense. It's not really a mainstay in my repertoire, but especially against new opponents that I don't play that often. A lot of people have a hard time dealing with extremely hyper-modern openings. I think it's really a very effective opening below master level, and when you start to get to master level, people really know what they're doing. Against these extremely hyper-modern openings like the Alekhine's defense, like the Nimzovich defense. But under master level, I think it's very... position is wrong. No, Riga's without b5. That's strange. I'm not sure about that. I mean, how could it be without b5? That's like an open Lopez or something. I mean, what could it possibly be? This is a strange move, knight takes d5. It's probably not that bad. You see this occasionally from players who aren't really, prepared with opening theory. I guess that white's still about equal, even after this exchange. But it sort of depends on how white follows up here. If white follows up passively, they can be slightly worse, because the queen can become a strong piece. Now, if I were to play something like e5, I would, I guess, allow a trade of queens, and the game would be more or less equal. Although I could play that as sort of gambit. Okay, let's try it. Although c5 is also good. It allows bishop b5 check. Playing it as a pawn sacrifice is kind of interesting for black. It's a line of the open defense. But I'm unclear on how I follow there. Is it possible the New in Chess survey that I read 20 years ago misnamed it, or are we wrong here? Yeah, I think that Girl of Chess can just take on e5. I was thinking about queen takes d1 check and then like knight c6, playing it as a pawn sacrifice where white's king is trapped in the center. Another line she can play is like knight f3. The downside of that might be that I play e4, but it's not that clear. Like knight f3, e4, knight e5, threatening bishop c4. White might have a decent game. So c3 to me seems like a concession, like a small concession for white. To allow yourself to have an isolated pawn here might be a small mistake. Blue Crow says, well, again, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castles, knight takes e4, d4, b5 is main move. But the Riga variation is e takes d4. Okay. So I think we're on the right track. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's what it is. I think you're right, Blue Crow. So I guess what my friend played wasn't technically the Riga variation, because he was playing with the Archangel's like move order. I'm just mixing the two in my mind. Okay, this endgame here, better for black because we traded a lot of pieces. If you play an isolated queen pawn position, that's better if you have a lot of pieces on the board, and the isolated queen pawn, is controlling key central square. It's giving you more space. But in the endgame, when a lot of pieces have been traded like this, because this is essentially an endgame, the isolated pawn tends to be more of a weakness than a strength in most cases. So that's where we're at. Nimzovich said blockade. Larson said attack, and no, Alekine said attack, and Larson said win the pawn. That's the joke, from what I heard, but I'm gonna just blockade it for the time being. It may have been possible to play knight to c6. I mean, it was definitely possible to play knight c6. Knight c6, bishop b4 check. I'm not sure I want to trade necessarily, because the white king might turn out to be decent on d2. Now the problem is if I play knight c6, bishop b5, I guess we'll just play this slowly. But it's possible I played too passively to really take advantage of that isolated pawn. A little passive I guess I should just pull the trigger on knight c6 right away. Now there's knight g5 sometimes. Where do I want to put my king here? Okay, let's play this. That's where my bishop was headed anyway. We're blockading, and we're also threatening to double the pawns in some lines. Looks good. I agree, knight c6 seemed good. I wanted to be kind of non-committal. Sometimes I hesitate too much. But black is clearly with the better position. I mean, the isolated pawn just doesn't have any real dynamism here. It doesn't allow any dynamism for white. It doesn't have any real attacking chances because of that pawn. It's my kind of position where I can try to grind white down. Once again, I mean, bishop e4 check, bishop d2, take, king takes. Could try something funky like bishop e4 check a5, but we're running out of time. We're running out of time. We'll save the pawn for later, you know, and just play chess. Hopefully that guy will fall later on. I was thinking about bishop e7, bishop f6. Probably a very good alternative plan for black. But I'm kind of setting myself up like I'm attacking the white king side here. It seems sort of stupid. And I'd like to have my king in the center for the ending, but no good place for the king. I was thinking about f6. You could play f6, king f7 for sure. Probably I should. But I don't really have any threats here. Ultimately, maybe f5, f4 would be an idea. So I've only gone to the level of Nimzovich, where I'm just blockading the pawn. You know, the joke is that Alekhine attacked the pawn and then Larsen took the pawn. That was their goal. I mean, it's a very modest goal to just blockade the pawn, right? But a good goal strategically. Another problem that white faces here is the e3 bishop turning into a bad piece. Bishop h6, it's not a friendly move, let's say. I can see bishop g4. I need to pay a little more attention tactically, guys. Sometimes I just get obsessed with strategic concepts, and I just start overlooking like blatant one-move tactics. I almost did it here. I had seen it earlier, you know, the possibility of playing bishop b4 in some moment with a rook on e1, but you need to be alert constantly. And you still making all the counts. The guy is really ill. All right. Bishop to b4. Welcome everyone. Welcome Neon Sky. Now we're just up in exchange, so it should be a walk in the chess park here. Essentially. Bishop g4 no longer. Maybe I should snap this pawn. Be a materialist. Be a materialist. Alright, thank you for the game, Girl of Chess. The only move I would really fault your blunder, and of course, like, c3 in the opening, I mean, I think it's not good to go into that kind of structure here, you know? I think you just have to take on e5 or play knight f3, but not to allow the isolated pawn after a set of pieces has already been exchanged. And other than that, I mean, knight takes d5, trading pieces on d5, probably not the best. Okay, world loser is a player who's been tough on me. We lost a couple games. I don't remember if it was Simels or yesterday he didn't show up when we started the challenge with him. It was hard not to say something about it. What is your FIDE rating? FIDE rating is like 20. It's around 2380 now. Up to the minute update. We're 2380 and gaining. We're trending upward. But my play is getting better. I mean, I'm really a lot stronger than I was a year ago, and I think I'm 2380 going on 2450. If I just keep playing, basically I'm going. The goal is to get back to be peaking again, and my peak was 2463 officially, but I'm sure we can do it. I'm 100% certain about the rating. About the GM norms, I'm not so certain. My stable style is not really the best for making GM norms. I'm gonna have to start to play like a maniac or something. So world loser had a problem with PC. I have a problem with being PC too. I try to do it here on the stream, but normally he's trying to play the Cambridge Springs variation. Of course, you can't really do that, I mean, with the queen on c2. Problem is, can I weaken the queen side here? Queen side, king side, whatever it's called. Bishop h4. This is a strange situation. I didn't really like bishop h4, g5, g4, that kind of stuff. We can play it like a Catalan. g3, bishop b4. The world loser is pretty strong. 2000. The first step of playing like a maniac. The inner rapport. The best example of a maniac was, and she never did make the GM title, but this chess programmer, Vasek Ralich's wife, Iveta Radzievich, Polish WGM and IM, she absolutely played every single game for winning or losing. Never ever would agree to a draw or anything like that. And she wasn't that strong, but once she made a GM norm, just absolutely going nuts, winning and losing every single game. And I think there's something to be said for that. It was funny because Rylich was a maniac too, and he's an IM, not strong enough to become a GM really, but programmer and creator of Rybka. Stylistically, they were the same. I guess that's why they fell in love. I don't know, but both were maniacal about just playing for a win, no matter what was the situation. Totally different style player than me, though. Here, what's the plan? I guess to play e4 at this point. If we're going to win this game, we have to kind of open it up, no? I would think. But my friend Dragon Kosic was saying about Iveta that it was very easy to beat her. You just trade two pieces and she just collapses. I never had seen this kind of thing, but Kosic was serious about it. He was like, yeah, you just trade two sets of pieces and she doesn't know what to do. And there are players like that, you know, where they're just constantly attacking maniacally. But in simple situations where a couple pieces get traded, they sort of like don't know what to do anymore. If they can't play for mate, they don't really have a clue. World loser. There could be a bishop coming to a6 at some point. He's playing extremely fast. He's only used 1 minute. 1900 in bullet, 2000 blitz, 2100 classical. Pretty typical rating distribution. But this is so ultra solid for black. It's like the a6 Slav. I can't stand the a6 Slav. Just want to take away the g4 square. I'm trying to keep up with him, but he moves too fast for me. Yesterday, what? Man versus Machine DST? I lost your message. The box like went under the screen and I can't find it. Man versus Machine was the guy I played last game yesterday. He seemed like a human to me. If he had a high rating, it was because he's like really fast in bullet chess or something like that. I actually missed a forced win the move before I saw it. No, he was definitely playing. I mean, he was a human against me. Probably like a really fast bullet player. This was my deep plan here, rook e3. Basically, I didn't like rook e2, and that's why I played h3. To secure like knight g4. Wasn't a threat. I wanted to play rook e2 and double rooks, but I didn't like the idea of him playing bishop a6 on my rook on e2. That's why I played h3 and rook e3. Now, obviously, rook e6 is a strange looking move. I could take on d7, but that would trade off for that horrible bishop. It's just a really strange situation. I don't want to allow knight e4. I need to keep my rooks protected, though. So he has tactics along the e-file. Black's play very convoluted, but solid at the same time. Not really sure what I'm doing here. Symmetrical, hard to make progress. He's got more time than me all the time. Knight d7. It's about equal. I don't think I have any advantage at all. It's just the deceptive. It's easy to think you have an advantage, but it's not really an advantage in reality. It's kind of an illusion. Black's just too strong. I've never beaten this guy in 5 games. at any time control. 30, 40, 30, 40, 5, 3, 5, 5. But I don't think I ever had an advantage in any moment in any game. Oh, this game I was winning. This was the one game, okay, at the last moment he allowed a winning position for me. But it was certainly not forced. Like in mutual time pressure. Black's only slightly better here. He could make a mistake and be worse. I don't know about this. The problem is I can't afford to allow f6 for him. I think I'd have a better chance against World Loser with no increment. I mean, he's much stronger than these ratings. I'm unable to beat him in 5 games. Now I have to play Queen f3. It's a very passive position for white. There he missed f6. This is only the second best move. Just groveling for a draw. He's not quite Magnus Carlsen, but I feel like I have about the same chance of winning. I don't understand why he didn't play f6. I thought after this he had nearly a winning position. Oh. Previously, when he played bishop h6, well, thank you for the draw for... I feel honored to get a draw here. Million miles away, 5 plus 3. I wonder what would happen if World Loser started playing GMs. If they would have any better luck than me. Probably not. d4, knight f6. We're playing our normal openings today. Yeah, black missed f6 when the bishop was on h6. Exchanging on e3 was a very bad move. Million miles away, I saw you playing in some some tournament yesterday. I was playing it for fun, a few games. Not sure where Million Miles Away is from. Okay, guys. Sunday I do a simul at 6:30 p.m. CET. Usually for 20 players lately, because every Sunday morning I have a team game. I'm usually a little bit tired out from those 5-hour chess games, but if it wasn't for that, I'd play even more players, like 25 or even more. But 20 player simul on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Okay, Kali system. A lot of people make fun of this opening for white, but it's actually not so bad. You know, you're just playing the semi-Slav with colors reversed. It's not harmless. Just kind of like playing a defense with white. The semi-Slav is a dangerous opening in the hands of a well-trained player, so there's nothing wrong with the Kali system. This is my standard approach. In fact, I play this way against the semi-Slav. Do you think Chess Network is the greatest streamer of all time? The Golden Dawn, Greece. Obviously. Chess Network seems like a good guy. I mean, I wouldn't criticize him. I don't think the Golden Dawn, the greatest streamer of our time, has yet to be discovered. Lochik. Okay, I didn't know what you guys were talking about there. Well, knight c4 is a highly unusual move from Million Miles Away. Because I haven't committed my d-pawn, to d5, he doesn't have an outpost necessarily on e5. Knight c4 is a strange move. Very, very bizarre move, knight c4. But I guess it's okay, there doesn't seem to be anything I can really do to crushingly punish it. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He could try something weird like a4. And also if a6, queen b3. I've never seen this and I never want to see it again. That's what Fritz says. Okay, bishop e7. Just non-committal. Wait and see what you're going to do. Obviously, I'd like to castle and get my development over with. Is the water good in Hungary? Well, they say it's good. My water has too much chlorine in it, and it's pretty nasty to taste, but I guess you can drink it. They sort of claim that the Budapest has Budapest at least has very good water, supposedly. But I wouldn't trust the pipes that it's coming through in. A4. So here, well, I guess rook b8 looks like a good starting place. I want to be able to defend b6. Highly, highly unusual plan, knight c4. I've never, ever seen anyone try this. It may be sort of pre-prepared, homemade setup for white. You could play something like d5, but to me it doesn't make sense, because why do we want to give him d5? And then here, he's walking into some play for me along the c file, I would think. Now maybe he's trying to exploit my rook on b8, queen c7 with bishop f4 at some point. I like saying at some point, obviously. But there's more to life than that, I guess. More to life than trying to play for bishop f4 cheapos. This is the downside of his formation with bishop d3, knight c4. Now his bishop doesn't know where to go because it's supporting the knight on c4. It's overloaded. Defending e4, defending c4. So I don't really think that... I mean, at least it didn't seem to me that e4 is a good idea, you know, in tandem with... Oh, man, a million miles away. What are you doing, dude? No big deal, I guess. I just play knight d5. Knight takes d3, pawn takes f6. Gets kind of messy. It just seems like it gets kind of messy, and there's no reason to let it get messy. You feel he's justified the push because you moved your rook to b8. I don't know, I think it might take more justification than that, but maybe. It would have to be justified tactically, you know. I don't think that e4 works, you know. It's just creating too many weaknesses in white's position. Now knight e1. But that's kind of weird. The problem is white is just overextended here. Bishop a6 is a problem, though. It doesn't really work because of knight to d6. I could play rook c8 first. But I don't think that actually does anything. So we'll just castle. There are options to play f6 or f5. He plays a very strong move there. b3. Extremely logical. Also double-edged at the same time. It's interesting, knight e1, defending g2. Did he actually concretely think about that, or is that an afterthought, like an accident, you know, that he was defending himself? Alright, we're going to switch diagonals here with the bishop. I love the long diagonal, but it looks like an illusion. And with more impressing matters, like the threat of him playing bishop a3 and taking my dark square bishop out and sinking a knight on d6 doesn't look like something I really want to deal with. I think black is just better here. Nothing fancy. No mating attacks against the white king. Just is a little bit overextended with his center. And even his queen side, you could argue the b3 is a little weak. At least I get lucky draws against this guy. Good point. Against Carlsen, I could get a draw. I almost got a draw against Carlsen. I came very close. We're just too low on time. Oh well, I may never get another chance against Magnus. But who knows what the future holds. It's not impossible. If I got my rating up over 2,500, I could somehow get to play him in a first round of some tournament somewhere. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility. A million miles away, though. f6, breaking it open. My queen might have to move. My queen has a good square at b7, actually. We could go to b7, go to b8. We're going to have to go somewhere, though. We're going to have to go somewhere. It defends the bishop on a6. I'm also eyeing the long diagonal. But he's hanging in there, which is very irritating. Not sure about this queen placement for me. Okay, I don't want to see knight g5. Or bishop g5 for that matter. It's worth considering b5, then knight a5. He's really hanging tough here. That isn't really a healthy looking move. A lot of pressure on c4, but I still can't break it down. Man, this is unbelievable. Now we can take, finally. A million miles away, it's like pulling teeth to get a pawn. He still had bishop a5 there, maybe even hanging on. Okay, now he just gave me the exchange. He's melted down. Reactor meltdown. Let's get this rook to a safe place. Where are you going? He's a fighter. Okay, all my pawns are on the right color. Yeah, that's not going to be good for white. I mean, obviously I could even trade rook takes bishop there. He's used to people making mistakes in a later stage of the game. Not too much chance of me messing this up. Abaraba. Abaraba's up next, 5-3, guys, every single game. Bishop g5 like 9 moves ago. Yes, there was one moment. Maybe there was one moment, but bishop g5 is a typical move in those lines. If you can get it in, oftentimes it like equalizes against something like the knight on b4, taking out your bishop pair. Abaraba. I'm going to play solidly here. I played the King's Indian too, guys. But I like to play both. Nimzo, Queen's Indian, Bogo Indian, and also King's Indian. And also the Blumenfeld, which was something I got from Grandmaster Svitan. And I was using the Blumenfeld to good effect. But then everybody started copying me. Like the entire Budapest first Saturday Grandmaster tournaments started stealing my opening. And it became so trendy that I had to stop playing it. All these young Hungarian talents started playing the Budapest. Openings are not fun when everybody's playing it and it loses its surprise value. Okay, the accepted is probably one of the best ways to play. Although most people don't know that or like it, I think this is one of White's best. There's some interesting tries here too. I think that I saw White play e4, experimental move e4 in that position. Now in the classic games from 1910 or whatever, this opening was played 100 years ago. Black would always play d5, but I think there's something to be said for more flexible type of setups. A6 or bishop b7. They stole my opening. Magnus is another opening stealer. He doesn't really create his own ideas. He just steals other people's openings. No, but I got it from Svitan, so I imported it from someone else. It's very hard to come up with your own original idea. But jumping on the bandwagon, the opening bandwagon, is never something I really liked. I like to play stuff that isn't that well known, you know. I also root for the underdogs. I try to root for the underdogs in sports. I don't play the Najdorf. I don't play the Sveshnikov. I try not to play things that are overly trendy. I was having that discussion yesterday. That's why I didn't like the Najdorf, because everybody plays the Najdorf. There's 500-page books on the Najdorf, and it's more interesting to play stuff that's not so trendy. So I'm kind of anti-trend when it comes to openings. We get him to spend a tempo on developing his bishop, and then I'll take on b5. Now he has to recapture. He'll have a piece out on b5 that's not necessarily stable. But fundamentally, the way that Baraba played this is reasonable. I'm a little worried about this knight d6 here. And it's very tempting to play d5, guys. But if you play d5, just keep in mind that you're really weakening the e6 pawn. You're also creating an outpost for white, potentially. So again, I like the more flexible move here. I like the less common but still good openings. Finding like interesting openings that people don't know that well. When Svitan showed me this, like for example the Blumenfeld, at the time, only a few strong players were playing it. Like Volokiten, maybe Volokiten, otherwise known as the under the table kicker. One time I played Volokiten in Bermuda, and I had to actually ask the arbiter to like remove his feet from under my chair, because I like gave him dirty looks, and like he still wouldn't move his feet. Some people are so into gamesmanship, it's just like ridiculous. Who else was it? Another really strong Iranian player. Do you guys know who is the #1 Iranian player? I always forget his name for some reason. This player, actually, I really like his style, but I can never remember his name. We're going to have to get our pieces developed here. I mean, d5 should be considered anyway. Now my queen is at least protecting the e6 pawn. c4, can't do it. Maybe knight a6, knight b4 in some lines. Baraba is trying to play fluidly. I'm not sure about my game, how good it is, actually. If I have enough compensation for a pawn. No, not those guys. No, this is a really good Iranian player who's a GM who's been really strong for like the last 10 or 15 years. By far the best, but, you know, maybe he's not playing that much right now. I don't know what the deal is. Oh, Gaia Magami, that's it. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. That's how it looks. Gaia Magami. That guy's really, really good. I mean, he has a very nice kind of hyper-modern positional style. I think he plays great chess. He was playing the Blumenfeld a lot. Volokiten was playing it a lot. And that's like 10 years ago. Before that, the opening it just wasn't trending at all. The Blumenfeld for years was considered to be like a kind of dubious stepbrother of the Benko Gambit, but it's been brought back to life. Yeah, that guy's a really, really good player. I haven't seen his name lately, though. But he's kind of like... Well, Abaraba playing this really well. I like this a lot. I was scared of b3. This is just a really good, fluid setup for white. I don't know if that I have enough compensation for the pawn here. I'm afraid of this line. Oh, man. So now my queen is possibly going to have to lose time. Alright, guys. I don't know what else to do at this point. I mean, I really have to go with the center. But I have a weak pawn here. And I'm not sure that black has enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn in this position. I'm just not sure. Maybe I have c4. We just have to wing it. I don't really believe in my position. This may in fact be like the best way to play against the Blumenfeld. Taking the pawn and going to this kind of formation for white. It doesn't seem like... I never really feel comfortable with my game. Queen c2 is a nice move. Though it can be attacked by knight b4 at some point. He's got attacking chances of his own around here. But what about if I don't know, man. e5? This is very, very unclear. I don't like my position. It just doesn't look good enough for black. Running out of time. It seems strange to play rook c8. It has an open file, but I'm going to try something. Opposite is queen. Baraba played this fantastically for white. Ideal. He couldn't play this better. Literally. Like, I don't think he could play this better than he's played this. Unless I have some kind of tactic. I still don't see anything. It's just vague. Queen d2. I don't like my game here. a3 kind of weakened his queen side a little bit. I just don't trust my position. The time pressure is a problem. We're down a pawn. Our compensation is really kind of vague. The game will be decided by time, unfortunately. But I think that Baraba has hit on an interesting subject here. We're starting to get some counterplay. Whoa. I almost played queen h5. That's really asking for it. Probably not a good idea. Oh no. Not a good move, bishop f6. We definitely had better. Oh man, come on. I definitely had some ideas there. What about an exchange sacrifice? Can I do this? Man, maybe I shouldn't do that. He had rook a2 there last move. Now he's giving back material. Black is slightly better. This is a draw though. Probably I shouldn't play that. This is still unclear. He has rook takes. Right? Oh man. Really, really good game, Baraba. It's obviously a draw in the ending, but you were much better throughout the opening, early, middle game. I'm lucky not to lose. All right, Plucro is up next. 5+3. Baraba got timed out. I understand your frustration, Baraba. We played a lot of bad moves in time pressure, both of us. Obviously, the rook ending should be a draw, for sure. But it's not easy with no time left. Plucro. 4 knights English or something else? What do you want to play here? G6, D6, F5, G5 maybe. That looks kind of weird. Hey, how was the gambit yesterday, guys? Knight f6, g3, e4 the guy played against me. I've never seen this done with a knight on c6. g3, e4, knight g5, d5. There was this guy, Amir, who had never played before. And that was really, really a good game, Baraba. Just, you were clearly better. And kind of actually a typical situation for that variation. Black sacrifices a pawn. He doesn't really have anything concrete. And you're just hoping that white makes a mistake or something. I'm much more afraid of this taking the pawn in the Blumenfeld than I am afraid of the traditional lines where white doesn't win a pawn with bishop g5. That used to be the main line, but honestly, I think that white has to be careful, but accepting the pawn seems better. Now, most people, like Josh Friedel, I had a game with Josh Friedel. Now, how was that? I was white against Friedel in the Blumenfeld. Is that possible? I was actually white against Friedel in the Blumenfeld. Okay, never mind. Somebody had a game with Friedel being black, I remember, and it was Kamil Mitan, the Polish grandmaster. So you can take the pawn and then play g3. That's what I'm trying to say. That Baraba, like, another option for you, but although the way you played it is okay, another option is to do a kingside fianchetto after taking the pawn on e6. It's considered most solid to play. G3 setup. Okay, Plucro, this I haven't looked at lately. I did some videos on my YouTube channel a few months ago, in the fall or late summer, and analyzed this a bit. Almost no one plays knight takes e5. It's much more common to play bishop g2, but I don't really think that white has anything special after bishop g2. So it's interesting to play knight takes e5. I think that some top players may be unwilling to play this move because it trades a set of pieces. I don't know. Why does Magnus choose to play bishop g2 rather than knight takes e5? Probably some top players think of it in terms of you're discovering the position. Okay, check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training. I've got like 2 or 3 videos on there analyzing this particular line. I had a book on the English opening like in the late 80s by Nigel Pova. He went into a lot of detail. I mean, Botvinnik played this, I think. Knight takes e5, if I'm not mistaken. Hungary. Well, this is not a situation where you want to be playing this position for the first time. It's kind of a tricky line. So knight takes e5 is a secondary variation. I mean, the best move is bishop takes f2, probably. Bishop takes f2 check, king takes f2, knight takes e5. And then you can check out my YouTube channel for more analysis of that. But positions end up more or less dynamically equal. Knight takes e5 is a tricky move and has been played by some strong players. But I don't objectively think this is good. Now, knight takes c4 is just a bad move. Here, the only good try, I guess, is queen e7, playing for a very subtle, smothered mate with knight f3. And there's been some games with pretty strong players in this position. After queen e7, pawn takes e5. Obviously, queen takes e5, bishop g2, I'm actually forgetting how that went now. Anyway, back to the game. Knight takes c4, not really a good idea. This knight is sort of lost in space. It can get trapped. It's overextended. Plus, you've given up your dark squared bishop. Now, I'm trying to remember now. After knight takes e5, queen e7. I have to take on c5. No, there's another move here. After queen e7, I analyzed bishop g2, which is a new move, a novelty. Sacrificing a pawn. I think that's what I looked at in one of my YouTube videos. This has never been tried before. Bishop g2, not taking a piece back right away. And here Plucro has just lost a lot of time. He's not even up a pawn. I mean, this is kind of a disaster for black. He's lost a lot of time. White has the bishop pair and more space. So, live and learn. Yeah, Zinky. Amir 1991. It's a weird pawn sacrifice, but almost sound. But the striking thing is that no one had ever played it before. What I was talking about was here. You know, after g3, e4, white plays knight g5, and then black plays d5, and white takes, and black just takes back. And it's complicated, but white should be better. But it took me forever to like figure out like the best line over the board yesterday against Mr. Amir. This is okay, he played h6 to stop bishop g5, but we have another idea for the said bishop. This is very bad. My bishops are just raking the board. His knight on e5 is on a good outpost, but it's obviously, you know, it can be chased away with f4 at any moment that I so desire. So Wesley, rook a6. Obviously, Plucrow's been playing the Budapest Gambit a little bit or something, because the old rook a6 maneuver, not overly appropriate here. Although it's probably not that bad either. He gets out of the pin of the b7 pawn being pinned to the bishop on g2. Alright, let's just try to play fundamentally good moves. I wonder what he's trying to do. Play d6. Time, unfortunately, is short. I don't have time to try to get my pieces out somehow. Okay. Yeah, rook a6, it's the Budapest Gambit. Knight g4 now. What is that? I was going to play h3 anyway. Oh my god. You're going to swing the rook across to g6 to sacrifice a piece. Didn't you see me reaching for the h-pawn? I guess the delay is too long for you to see me. I wanted to play h3 last move. Now the pawns are just like massive. e4, f4. I guess my bishop, you know, its functionality on the long diagonal is limited now. The rook has escaped from a8. But we're threatening to overrun him completely. You can't see the video, by the way. Can't see the video, like. Right, I don't really want to help you here, per se. I mean, if I take, rook takes, and suddenly Plucrow has a good game. Almost. There's a lot of ways to play this position, I guess. It's tempting to play f4. There's so many possibilities. This is kind of a weird move, but I wanted to open up my bishop on b2. I can't see you reaching for h3. I'm just kidding. He can hear me, but he can't see me. No, but I thought you might have... You could see the mouse hovering around the h3. That's what I'm saying. g5. If you're watching the video intently, you could see my hand kind of over here, you know what I mean? Not my hand, but this little mouse hovering over the h3 square. Plucrow's done a really good job of hanging on here. I mean, this position looked... I'm going to blunder some kind of tricks. Let's just try to blow him away. Although f4 is... Yeah, alright, man. Gotta take it to you here. I've got to go for it. That rook is cut off on a6 now. All my pieces are pretty much rocking. Well, just knight d4. now king h2. Man, he's amazing, actually. Blue Crow, very good with piece play. That's not the best, but it's good I never moved my queen from d1. Yeah, this doesn't look good. Alright, you gave it a good try, though, after that opening catastrophe. Guys, we're streaming for about another hour or so, so we should have time for quite a few games at 5-3. Normally, you know, I'm playing Classical and Blitz, so it's only on Fridays that I'm playing 5-3 exclusively. I guess I played Ashland for the first time yesterday. I don't really know anything about their opening repertoire. 1.6. Now you learned your lesson. You have to play bishop takes f2 check. But it's a fun position. Actually, I find it to be very, very rich for both sides. Sigh. The Bogo Indian, I play myself. It's just kind of boring. With white, actually, it's more boring for some reason. A5, this is what I play, or have played mostly. Oddly enough, Richard Rapport playing this variation for black. The amazing game he lost to Aronian, where Aronian, or Aronian, if you prefer, played like absolutely genius. And then he repeated it again against somebody else. But it doesn't seem like the kind of opening that, you know, really fits Rapport's maniacal style. Now, Ashland playing the variation that I play. Strange coincidence. Romanician system. I've played many games with this variation with black. But I've played a fair amount of times against Eric Lebrun in Blitz. Looks like Ashland knows the theory pretty well. C5. I've never seen anyone below Grandmaster play this for black. The only player who's played it against me was Lebrun in a lot of games. Knight C6 right away. Oh, that's weird. Never seen that before. Makes sense. But I'm just wondering if there's not a concrete reason why that's never been played before. Bishop G5. Pawn takes pawn. D5 is possible. Ashland is 1973. C5, I've never seen Knight C6 played. Everybody plays C takes D there. Maybe they know something I don't know. I don't know, guys. Never seen this move. A lot of Grandmasters have played this line. I don't think anyone plays Knight C6. D5. What if I took on B4? Doesn't really look right. All right. Yeah, I'm starting to think about really stupid things here. Maybe A3. Doesn't look right. I mean, knight C6 just looks like it's extremely strong. Do you know how to refute knight C6? Of course I don't know how to refute knight C6. Why would I be thinking for 3 minutes if I knew how to refute knight C6? Why in the world would everyone take on D4 if knight C6 was a good move? Bishop G5. E3 weakens the diagonal. It's terrible. I don't see anything better than just taking on C5. Spinal Tap says, yeah, I think it's because of D5. Maybe D5. I don't know. I didn't see anything cleared there. But everybody always takes on D4. I just didn't see anything. D5, he just takes on D5. E takes D5, E takes D5, Knight takes D5. I didn't see anything there. D5, E takes D5, C takes D5. Knight takes D5, Queen E4 check. What does that do? You know, I didn't see what's going on. Maybe I'm missing something. Typical Catalan, giving up the bishop with bishop G5 is not uncommon. Black has some weaknesses in the position, though very reasonable control of the center, it seems like. The pawn structure is kind of weakened for black. Ashlyn says, I don't want to open it versus a stronger endgame evaluation. What does that mean? I don't understand that comment. Like, what does that mean? Opening endgame evaluation. I mean, knight c6 is like the kind of move I would play if I could. I'm not sure if this is even good or not. I have to be very careful here. Look how perfectly aggressive black has played this. Totally efficient development, active pieces, just a little bit of weakness in the pawn structure. But I don't trust my game. His two bishops look kind of scary. Queen f5, you mean? That's f5. Queen f4 would drop a queen. But ugh. I'm barely like not losing material with white here. Oh, I see. Oh, that's a nice move. I should play knight h4 first? No. Queen f5. Look how well the coordinated pieces are for black. These pieces are maximum activity. Now, you didn't have knight b4 there, just winning material. I think you had knight b4. Just winning material for black. Maybe I missed something. I didn't have time to calculate, but it looks like black is totally okay here. I don't know how he has time to type with like seconds left. He or she. I can't do that. We're a little bit better, but it's not much. Wow. What am I doing? And very strong player, this Ashlyn. Queen e5, an excellent move, centralizing the queen. And then d4. Black's equal here. There's probably no way to win. I'm like tied down to e2. King centralization, very important in queen and pawn endgames. I think there you had d3 at the last moment here. Probably this move. No, it doesn't work because the pawn takes pawn. Oh no. I'm defending. Defending g1 and h2. Time pressure blunders. I think you should be at least 2k in blitz. Alright. Mastermind 14. Mastermind. How many challenges do we have? Vasilikos. I'm probably not going to play the same player twice. Dumb Saint. Amir 1991 is the guy who played the weird gambit yesterday. Let's try a Scandinavian. I don't understand still why black didn't have knight a2 there. Well, let's play queen takes d5. I don't really play this, but knight f6 I've kind of lost faith in. I used to play the Scandinavian with knight f6, and I think I was like, basically, I was thinking about this yesterday. I think I was actually making my life very difficult. You know, if I hadn't played that opening in a lot of games, I probably would have saved myself a lot of rating points. Just trying to make life hard for yourself by playing an inferior opening is not really a good idea. There were many cases where I struggled against weaker players with black because I was handicapping myself by playing the knight f6 Scandinavian. I think it's just a very stupid idea. I didn't want to accept that the opening just isn't very good for black. Bishop e2 now. It's a quiet move, basically. I'm just trying to think, is it better to play b5 or not here? Maybe knight bd7. We have the option to play g6 or b5 or e6. Maybe e6 first. This is a little passive for black. Are you going to go over knight c6, d5 or not? Yeah, actually, I should have stopped to take a look at that, Plucro. Sorry about that. I have been taking timeouts to briefly go over some concepts in some of the games from time to time, and I think it's a good policy. Maybe after this game we can take a quick look at the opening against the last opponent. Here we have c5, when oftentimes white has some piece sacrifice on b5, which is very dangerous. c5, knight takes b5, pawn takes, bishop takes. I'd rather pass on allowing that. Queen d2, fine. You see, I don't think that Mastermind is surprised by my opening. I mean, there was a time when people were surprised by this system. Okay, we have c5 now. It's lost its surprise value. Tivyakov just played it to death. A lot of other players have played this to death, this queen d6 Scandinavian. Need to find something new. Just doesn't have any surprise value anymore. Bishop g5, f6, rook d1, knight to e7. I mean, I'm not sure that nobody... What, did I just drop a piece? Oh. Okay, well that's a kind of problem. Yeah, I think we're going to resign here. Mastermind 14. Why can't I see your stats? That's weird. I can't click on his stats? Why doesn't it let me see his stats? I just dropped a piece, guys. I'm going to have to resign here. No, I don't really want to take back. I mean, you're going to give me a take back? All right. Then you have to take a take back. I mean, if you want to play the game, I mean, fine. We have to have another take back. And then another take back. C5 just drops a piece. Oh boy. Alright, well. I can play C5 actually. You know, maybe I should play C5 anyway. Here. Losing my composure, but I have to take back. I have to take on D2 first, then take on C5. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, though. Anyway, thanks for the take back. We're gonna hear a lecture from someone from the Peanut Gallery about how takebacks are not part of chess. Okay, knight takes c5, queen takes, bishop takes, rook takes, knight takes c5, queen takes, rook takes, knight takes, queen takes, rook takes. Or we could just simply trade queens and take back on c5, but it's probably the best. Mastermind 14. You know, you don't get the impression this is the first time he's faced this. He seems well prepared. Though objectively, it's probably around equal. I have a bad score with this opening. Even here, I'm like hanging a piece with a take back. If he wins like this, it wouldn't be much educational for him. True, but I'm not sure I can educate him too much in this position. I mean, how much education can we give white here? Not too much going on. There's just nothing going on. I don't like trading this knight on c3, actually. But I'm not sure what the heck I'm doing anyway. I don't know, man. It's just another opening that's overrated. The queen d6 Scandinavian doesn't look great. I still think that queen a5 is the best for black for sure. You know, I feel like I'm just on the tiny bit worse side of a draw here, you know, so that's why I say I can't educate him. I mean, what am I going to educate him about here? It looks like, you know, anybody could hold a draw with white in this position. Why can't I see mastermind statistics? Like, normally I can click on somebody's... Something wrong with my... Alright, let me just refresh the page here. Yeah, there was some bug or something. Mastermind, he's actually pretty strong. 2180 in classical or correspondence. I mean, it's a new account. Relatively new account. He seems pretty strong. This is just a very, very slightly better for white type of position, where there's more or less nothing happening. If anything, white's a tiny bit better because he has this queenside majority that could create a passed pawn pretty quickly. So I don't think I have much to teach him here. I think he can teach me. He can teach me how to draw this very slightly worse position, maybe. Okay, that could be a tactical mistake. Still, I'm pretty terrible strategically, but tactically I'm alert. This is a big mistake. He loses the bishop pair. There he drops a piece. Now I have to give him a take back. Alright, dude, this is the last take back for today, guys. You have to take mastermind. You must take on d2 and surrender your bishop pair, sir. And now you have to defend your hanging pawn. And that's the last take back for anybody, including myself today. Interesting question now, where to put my bishop. Bishop c5, maybe. I don't really know. Karpov. You know, now do we do the routine? Karpov, Sasanko, Karpov. Bishop c8. That's what happened in this Catalan. Karpov played black against Sasanko, and in order to play for a win, basically black tries to keep the bishop pair on the board. So maybe we can teach him something in the end. I think I could have been a little bit better in that bishop versus knight ending, but it should be a draw. I mean, it should be pretty easy to make a draw. And now we can kick his knight to a really bad square because he put his king on d2. Maybe it's not that bad, actually. I normally don't like g3, but here... I want to centralize my king. Bishop g5 check just drives his king to the center. So now we have bishop c5. But the concept is to keep the bishop pair on the board. You know, even if my bishop has to just basically suck for a while, that's better than trading it off, because I keep it long term, and we can try to play for a win with two bishops against bishop and knight. You know, my bishop will come to life eventually. I'm not saying this is a winning position, just black has chances to win. Like in the game Karpov-Sasanko that I'm talking about, Sasanko lost a drawn position. I mean, Karpov wasn't winning. Just there were chances for him to win, and he did win. But objectively, it should have been drawn. As this position is possibly a draw with best play, it's just not that easy for white. Mastermind is pretty fast. I've got to give him that. He's very fast. I don't know about a5. I don't think this is a winning position for black. I don't think it's enough, objectively. God, he's gonna like flag me on the clock. I just blundered there. He had bishop f7 last move, winning a pawn. Don't know much about Mastermind, where he's from, any information. Are you in the chat on Lichess, Mastermind? Now suddenly this king and pawn endgame looks kind of interesting. We should be faster than him. We have to try to race me. Mastermind is not an endgame specialist. King and pawn endgames. Yeah, you can't stop the pawn here. But he missed bishop f7 earlier. It's pretty bad game by me. But the idea was right. Keeping the bishops on to create winning chances for black. So at least we were able to like get something out of that. All right, Vasilikos. Sorry guys, I started right away. I still want to take a look at that opening against Ashlyn, but we'll play one more game. Guys, we have about half an hour, so that's time for 2 or 3 games. C3 Sicilian. I do a simul on Sundays, 6:30 p.m. CET. 20 players, first come, first serve. It's a long simul. Not really long, 2.5, 3 hours. Here's another variation that I started pioneering, but then it was stolen by a bunch of 2600 players. Basically, I started playing this bishop f5 idea, and then all of a sudden I didn't play chess for 5 years and noticed that a whole bunch of people started playing my line. There's some questions about whether black should play bishop f5, you know, in what position, like with or without knight c6. There are interesting possibilities. But again, it's something I borrowed from someone else, of course. Like Luis Gallego had played it back in like 1991, and I noticed this game in the database, and I was like, why has nobody ever played like bishop f5? You know, it seems like a reasonable move. And it turns out then it started getting trendy in the last couple of years. Bishop b5 is kind of a weird move, Vasilikos. I mean, that's your good bishop, you know. So pawns on white, dark squares, white, dark, whatever. Pawns on dark squares. But there's a Nimzovician kind of theme to this bishop b5. He wants to control the e5 square. I guess that's valid. You know, a valid take on the situation. I'll have to take a look at that opening for a minute after we finish this game. Let me forget. But anyway, bishop f5 in the c3 Sicilian. I have to claim some ownership of that idea. That was right before I stopped playing for several years. Bishop d7, pawn takes pawn. And what's the deal here? This move bishop d7 is kind of passive, but I think it's valid against bishop to b5. Black should be about equal. The c3 Sicilian is basically a forced draw. Or not. No, we have knight takes d4. I guess we're going to get back into a position like we had that other game against Girl of Chess, where white just has an isolated pawn with pieces traded off and stuff. Vasilikos, you hung a piece here. We're going to give him a take back. This is really the last take back. The last take back. Did we already get a take back? We offered a take back. Alright, we're going to take on b5. Then you can think about whether you want to take back or not. That's our last take back today. How can I find your profile? I want to send a challenge. Said Abul Fazi. Well, we probably don't have time today. We're already... Don't bother to send a challenge because I have to go in like 20 minutes. And we already have several challengers. Maybe Zara Bossina said, I just came from the chain bridge and those lions really don't have tongues. If you know what I'm talking about. Wow. So he's in Budapest, touring the chain bridge. In downtown Budapest. I'm not really in that area. But that's cool that you're in the city here. Now, white is going to have a little bit of compensation, but it's a whole piece. I mean, right, queen here maybe. I think we should play as actively as possible here. Queen h5. Yeah, the chain bridge is a historic place here in Budapest. A beautiful structure. I never really thought about the lions don't have tongues. Most lions have tongues, of course. Now I played h3. We need to get developed. e6. Of course, I'm a piece up. I could spare a piece. If you want me to sacrifice a piece, I might be inclined to do so for black. Am I Hungarian? No, I'm not Hungarian. Obviously, if you hear me talk, you can tell. I mean, I could be like a Hungarian with the best American accent ever, but nope. No, I'm American, but I've lived here in Budapest since 2004. Kind of a naturalized Hungarian. Bishop e7. We have to watch out for d5. I could play bishop b4. Maybe that's just better. Bishop b4, d5. Bishop takes c3. What do we do? Like sacrifice a piece back? Probably not a bad idea to sacrifice a piece back. I really don't mind. I mean, I'm up a pawn or two after that with a really, really simple position. Break his initiative. There's two ways we could do this, Vasilikos. You can play d5 and I can take on c3 and sacrifice a piece back that way. Or you can play g4 and take your chances with that. But I think for the sake of playing quickly and maybe getting another game or two in, I'm just going to expedite things by sacrificing back the piece and being up a pawn or two with very little counterplay for white. But in general, that's a good strategy. So yesterday, no Kamran. So nice analysis with Costin in a trump. Anthony Costin, English grandmaster who lives in France. Okay. Yeah, it's nice that in Paris you have a pretty thriving little chess scene. Probably much better than most cities, I would imagine. I mean, that's probably what attracted Shirazi, like, for example. The cafe gambling scene or whatever. A lot of cities like Budapest just don't have an outdoor chess scene. There's like no outdoor chess scene here. No cafe chess scene. I miss that from living in Boston, to be honest. I really, really miss playing chess in the park or in the... There's very little chess in Budapest outdoors in the parks. You would think there would be. I mean, there's some old guys playing chess and stuff, but it's pretty lame. And I came from a city where there was just a really thriving outdoor chess scene. Alright, guys. But that's cool. Paris must be cool. I was out there playing for a French chess team for a few years, but it was long ago. It was back in like 2000, sort of 2010 was the last time I played in France. I want to say 2010. Vasilikos, you're making life kind of difficult for me. You know, now I'm not sure I can sacrifice the piece back anymore. You know, I can't afford it. I've given him a pawn already, and so I don't think I'll be returning the sacrificed piece anytime soon. Mainly in the outer districts. Alright. Alright, I'll just simplify. I'm up a clear piece here. I mean, this should be pretty easy. I live right across the street from the city park here in Budapest, and sadly, you really only see like old guys playing cards. Not really any chess. Once in a while, there'll be like some dudes playing chess, but it's very, very rare. Oh man, Vasilikos, you're just not giving up. He's actually saving a lot of games, I would imagine. Vasilikos probably saving a lot of games with his tenacity not to give up down a piece. He has only one pawn for a piece, but he's really trying to play the best moves. But it's good. I mean, you shouldn't give up. there's some players who are like perfectionists. If they make a blunder, they kind of just give up and resign. I mean, I never like to play on like totally lost positions, but in blitz, in a situation like this with a piece down, a piece for a pawn, it's a situation where normally you should play it out, and you can save a lot of games against players who are not that fast. Maybe he should have played b4, to get that pawn moved up while he has the chance to do it. Now, that's a bad move. I think he just overlooked knight takes d5. And this looks really bad for white now. Tactically forgot about my knight taking on e3. So that's pretty much it. Now his game is shattered. I don't miss the American food a lot. I do miss food, but especially like seafood, because seafood, Hungary is a landlocked country. I mean, they have fish you can import from other countries, and there's obviously like, river fish and stuff like that. But the thing I miss the most is probably a good American hamburger and seafood. Steaks, good steaks, yeah. So yes, you did find a sore point in my life, but I go back to the United States fairly frequently, usually every year for a while. I wanted to look at this game with Ashlyn. If we look at the analysis board for a second, I wanted to see the opening, So what are we going to come up with here? Castles is the main line, but c5 is played. I've played this myself. Oh, look. Brynell versus me. This was in 2006. Look how low my rating was. I played too many First Saturday GMs and got my rating lowered down to 2352. But castles. And computer says knight c6 is the best move. What's the reason here? Like, because black usually castles here, and then white usually castles, and then black plays c5, and white has a bunch of different moves, like bishop g5, rook d1. So the first thing that's strange is that it's more common to castle, and he played c5, but it's strange because in this position I would swear I've played this before. And I've in fact even... Oh, okay, so this is my game. C takes d4, bishop takes b4. Well, it's good I remembered a lot of stuff here. It's not good for black to play that. That was actually a bad move by me. So I was lucky to draw that game. C takes d4. It's a different position than I'm used to. See, I'm used to playing this position. Castles, c5, and then after rook d1, we're playing c takes d, I want to say. C takes d. Bishop g5, c takes d. Bishop f4, c takes d. Bishop f4, c takes d. Knight takes d4. And d5. Okay, so these variations are very confusing. There's different stuff here. Let's see, though, the truth about knight c6, because we're running out of time. Alright, so he played the best move. He or she played the best move, and then castles knight c6 is the best move. Not too many games here, just 2 games of all time. There might be more in chess base. So d5 is critical. But the computer likes my move the best. I spent 3 minutes here. It says black is 0.1 better. Well, I don't understand what I did wrong. So castles is a mistake, or what? It's very strange. I should play a3 according to the engine, but that's not giving it too much time to think. Strange. Why does it say, okay, 7 games with castles. Now knight c6. D takes c5. So the question was d5. But I was unconvinced. You have to play e takes d. So this is some kind of long-term sacrifice with bishop g5. I mean, it's a typical idea because this guy gets trapped on b4. Now that's white's idea in a lot of lines, to trap that bishop, although black could sacrifice a piece for like a massive armada of pawns for sure here. Yeah, like bishop takes c4, a3, castles. You know, I mean, that's pretty formidable pawn structure for a piece. So this is just a pretty chaotic situation. That wasn't my intention, though. I mean, I was looking at like recapturing on d5, but I guess I was not really happy about this bishop being on the diagonal. Knight takes d5, bishop g5. Knight takes d5, knight h4, playing it like a Queen's Indian pawn sacrifice. So this is really complicated. This deserves some serious analysis. This variation probably not great, though. Maybe this bishop g5 is sort of like Spinal Tap was talking about this. Seems to be better. f6. And then white has some compensation for the sacrificed pawn. And this piece, actually, I'm winning a piece, right? In some lines. Very complicated, guys. Rook d1. Bishop c1. And then he can free his bishop by playing c4, for example. It's pretty complicated, man. Very few games ever played in this position. Alright, guys, let's go back and play... Sabatica I already played, so Dumb Saint will probably be the last game for today. Oh, I should use the Google Chrome. I know. I have Google Chrome. I hate Google Chrome in general, but I should definitely use it for analyzing. I agree. Good point. Very good point. Yeah, the Google Chrome works better with the analysis feature here on Lichess. Yesterday, Dumb Saint played the same line against me, and then he blundered a pretty standard trap. Well, he played the Najdorf. I played bishop c4. I need another line against the Najdorf desperately, because this is just too one-dimensional. He played b5. It's the main line. One of the main lines. Phantom Bra, see you later. Right, that's probably critical. The c takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop g5. Yeah. I know, Pukro, I saw that you guys were looking at that. That's why I brought it up. It is probably best play for both sides, I would think. And the evaluation is like unclear. I mean, it's very, very complicated and imbalanced. But I remember the game with Brynell, and that's probably the last game I played in that line in a tournament game. I messed up. I had a bad game, but he didn't have good enough technique to finish me off. So here we are. Queen f3. No, castles. You can play queen f3, I guess. That's kind of a rare move. So yesterday was castles, bishop e7, queen f3, castles, question mark, e5, winning position for white. Anasiana said I was expecting a3 instead of castles, but a3 is not a move I like to play. It's not a move that I think contributes too much to white's position, and it often weakens the queen side. So I try not to make that move if at all possible. Bishop e7, queen f3. So here we are in the topical variation of the Najdorf. Instead of b5, I think the lines with knight bd7 are good for black. Fedorovich played that against me, I analyzed that a lot years ago, but it's been a long time since I played the white side of one of these against a strong player. Back in the day, I played against Novikov and Fedorovich and some other good players, and I was pretty well prepared, but as I said, I haven't played really too much in the last 6 or 7 years, and I haven't really studied this variation at all. Now, obviously, white can play bishop takes e6 here. I don't know what the deal is. I have a strange feeling about this move, that it's been played recently. Bishop takes e6. What would happen if like bishop takes e6 b4? That seems strange, doesn't it? Just hypothetically, bishop takes e6 b4. I guess there I'd have bishop d5 winning on the spot. It's good when you can answer your own questions. Bishop takes e6, takes e6, knight takes e6. Queen goes somewhere, knight takes, g7 check. Well, let's do it anyway. I don't know what the theoretical status is of this. I mean, I know that traditionally bishop b7 was not considered to be a move, but I have a weird feeling that I might have seen this recently. Although yesterday I didn't notice it when I went over the game with looking at the engine. I glanced at the opening encyclopedia, or opening, what do you call it? The opening gizmo, master database or whatever, and let's get back to the position here. Sorry guys. So bishop takes e6. We get 3 pawns for a piece. It looks like, with some attacking chances against the black king, but I'm not certain that this is all that clear. Isn't b5 f4 strong for white? Not especially. b5 f4, that was the way Fischer liked to play, but it's not as it's not considered as good for white by theory as both castles in f4 are lines, but I don't think it's considered as dangerous. But Dumb Saint, I guess, just needs to take the piece on e6 and try to survive. Now I'm clear pawn up. I have played f4 before, but not usually in this move order. I like to play f4 more in the Scheveningen type of move orders, because we don't really have a choice here. I don't know what I'm thinking about, to be honest. Now the question would be, do we play bishop d5 or bishop b3? Does it make a big difference? It might make a big difference. I mean, obviously this should be good for white. Not only that he lost a pawn, but I mean, potentially the d5 square is a weakness. Not that easy to use it though. Maybe that's not that relevant. I mean, he could force me to play knight d5, and I'll have to take with the pawn on d5. I'd like to have a piece on d5 recapture. It may not be possible here. I thought if bishop d5 though, you know, he can just play a waiting move like queen c7. Though objectively that would have been interesting. Now bishop g5 I was looking at to control the d5 square more, but I can't afford to give up my dark square bishop really. His dark square bishop would become too strong. a3. I know this is like really not going to change anything, I guess, in the long run. That move might be too slow. Salty Ego, good to see you. Can you play Queen F3 even before you develop your bishop? Ormius. Yeah, that's just a weird line. I mean, Emery Tate used to play that, and I've played it here on the stream for fun, but it's pretty garbage. After Queen F3 on move 6 or whatever, you know, here, it's a trash line. I mean, just play G6 for black. It's a good dragon. I've played that for fun, but I mean, it's not really objectively good. Queen D7. I thought their A5 was possible. And white should have a good game here. Bishop E3. Is knight G4 your idea? I guess I could play a lot of moves, but bishop G5, knight takes E4 could be some kind of tactic. Objectively, I'm not sure of the best square. I'm probably making a small mistake here. I was tempted to play bishop F4. I just don't think bishop G5 is good. It feels active, but it sets me up for tactics like knight takes E4. Bishop F4 though might be good. It might be good. He doesn't have any tricks with F5. Rook A C8, pressuring the C2 pawn makes some sense. I don't know where to put my rooks. Rook E1. Black has a little bit of compensation. I don't think it's really enough. Maybe H3. Actually, did he miss a good move there? I think he missed a strong move there. Didn't he have like Queen B7 last move? I think he had Queen B7 last move and pressuring E4. Now this is too passive for black. You had a good game with some compensation, I think, but now I'm not so convinced. Okay, he wants to play Rook E8 with Bishop F8. I'm playing too hesitantly here. Now he can put a lot of pressure on E4, and this drops a piece. But he had Rook E8. Let's offer a take back. Theme of the day is take backs. One more take back. It's the last game of the day, guys. Let's give him one more chance. I think you still have counterplay with Rook E8 and Queen B7. And it's not so easy for white. But H6, that's another way to offer a pawn. No, even there he has some counterplay. Bishop takes H6, G takes H6, Queen takes F6, Bishop G7. I give him the dark squared bishop, but I do win a second pawn, it's true. It's kind of a judgment call. I've given him a lot of counterplay. I don't have any choice here. He still has counterplay. I've definitely made a ton of mistakes. I don't know, maybe the other way would be better. It's kind of a tough call. I could also take with the pawn. It seems like here he has counterplay still. You know, I'm backward along the C file. It's kind of unpleasant. Though that's obviously a passive move for black. It's not easy for white to convert this position into a win. It's very technical. It's good that our pawns are on white squares. Very powerful bishop on d4. So I like white's chances. Just, I didn't play optimally. Avoiding my trick. Oh no. Maybe rook a3, but it's subjectively losing. Yeah, too many pawns. Too many pawns on dark squares. He's only down a pawn after everything's said and done. Wow. You have bishop f6, but it's not gonna be enough. 2 pawns down. Oh my god. He had h5 check there. I think he had h5 check there. Am I even winning this position? Holy crap. He missed h5. It was a huge move. But this pawn is too strong. Dumpsane has some endgame skills, but he did miss h5. King position is just key here. Is it possible that h5 was just a draw? Or even better for black? Nah, it's over. Alright, let me just see that position, guys, before we finish for today. Was h5 a saving move? 2 pawns down? Two pawns down in a king and pawn endgame. Is it just too much to ask? I guess it was too much to ask. So it's not saving. h5 check. Oh man, that's insane. Check this out. If I take on h5, it's a draw. But if I play king h4, I'm winning. And maybe king f3. King h4. King takes f5. King takes h5. It's lost. Too many pawns down. Okay, anyway, it was the only try. But I was going the wrong way. I mean, I should have been headed over here with my king in the first place. Create a pass pawn. Go home, I'm drunk. Alright guys, thank you. We'll be back on Sunday with the simul, 6:30 p.m. CET. Thank you for the games today. Thanks to Jeroen for being here to moderate, and I think he's gone now, but anyway, he did a good job keeping the trolls under control. Also, check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. I think one player in particular should check out the 4 Nights English videos I made. And opposition lessons. Well, yeah, it's kind of opposition. King h5, king f5, but it's not enough. But he should have tried it. He should know to find that try, because it's close to working. If I wasn't up a pawn on the queen side, I mean, I might be lost there. Anyway, we will be back on Sunday. Have a good weekend, and thanks for checking out the YouTube channel. We'll be back Sunday, and then Monday morning again with a 15-2 time control stream at 10 a.m. Monday morning. Thanks again, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.